should I charge for a website design is hands down the most common question I hear freelance designers ask. Look, pricing your design work is difficult. If you ask 20 different people what you should charge, you'll get 20 wildly different numbers. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to price a website design project for a client. As we dig in, I want to let you know that this video walks through parts of the pricing process that are described in my free workbook called How to Price Your Design Services. That workbook goes through these things and more so that you can feel confident in your pricing and know that you're charging enough. So grab it at the link in the video description below. All right, the first thing that you need to know about pricing is that it's very individual. No one can tell you exactly what you should charge for a project. It also depends on a lot of different factors. Different designers may charge totally different prices for the exact same project based on things like the type of client that it's for, their own skill level and experience as a designer, the cost of living where they live, the value that they bring to the client through their design process, and so much more. So if you thought this video was going to be an exact formula that tells you an exact price to charge, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it's not. Only you can decide your price. But what I am going to cover in this video is how to do that. Now, the first thing I want you to do before you go about figuring out what to charge is take a moment and actually do some reflection and analyzing about your ideal client. If you have a journal or a piece of paper, actually grab it and jot down some notes right now. I want you to think about what types of clients you want to work with. Is your target audience multi-million-dollar companies? Is it corporate nonprofits? Is it mom and pop shops? Is it solo entrepreneurs who are just starting out? Is it growing businesses? Alongside this, what industries do you want to work with? Technology, healthcare like hospitals and orthodontists, or healthcare like yoga studios and nutritionists, restaurants, boutique shops, educational institutions, business coaches. The reason it's important to reflect on these things is because realistically, different target audiences can or cannot support different project costs. For example, if you want to charge $10,000 for a website, but your target audience is local mom and pop restaurants, most, not all, but most, cannot afford that. Your local yoga studio most likely does not have the same budget as a hospital. At the same time, if you're working with large institutions like big tech companies and you're charging $1,000 for a website, you are probably a steal for that target client. So before you put a price tag on something, you do need to be realistic about if your audience can actually afford it. And yes, of course there are exceptions, but the goal is not to make your local solo entrepreneur who's a pottery maker go bankrupt in order to work with you just because you think your services are worth way more than the typical local potter reasonably has the budget for. Your goal is to find the balance between what you're offering and how much it costs and how much your audience can logistically spend. The price has to feel good to both of you. Like I said, my free workbook about how to price your design services has prompts for these questions and more in it where you can brainstorm at length. So be sure to download that at the link in the description below. So keep all of that in mind as we move on. The next step to figuring out what your price is to figure out your monthly break-even point. Your break-even point is the amount of money you need to make in order to cover all your expenses. It is the dollar amount at which your income equals your expenses. What do you need to make to survive? So add up all your recurring monthly expenses like rent or mortgage, utilities, any car payments, recurring subscriptions in your business, and the average that you spend per month on other necessary things like groceries. That's your break-even. Write that down. Now, in an ideal world, you also want to make a profit. You don't want to be just spending every last dollar you make. So your profit is extra money that you have each month to save or spend on other things. Write down your desired profit amount. How much extra do you want? Add your break even and your profit amount together, circle that number. That is your goal. So however you price your web design services or any other design services, it needs to get you to that goal. The next thing you're going to do is a bit of reflection on your services. For your typical web design package, what is included, and on average, how long does it take you to do? Literally, how many hours are you spending on this service every time you do it for a client? If you don't know that information, definitely start using a time tracker like Toggle moving forward so that you can track your time. That is incredibly valuable information to have for pricing like we're talking about now and for so many other things. But if you don't currently track your time, reasonably estimate how many hours you're spending to complete your projects. Now, based on this information, how many projects can you reasonably do for clients each month? Is it one website? Is it two websites? Or does a website take you 2 months, in which case it's half a website? Be reasonable with this as well. Realistically, you probably cannot just crank out website after website with no break or no room for projects that might take a little bit longer than expected here and there. And also remember that if a project takes you, say, 8 hours, that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to do it in one day, because we all know as design business owners that there are so many other tasks that we're working on any given day other than design. So keep that in mind as you're working through this estimation as well. Okay, so now that you've got that information about how many websites you can do in a month, how much do you need to charge per website in order to meet that break-even number that you wrote down? How much do you need to charge to cover all your monthly expenses? Now let's add in your profit. How much do you need to charge for that website in order to meet that goal with your profit? If you're feeling stuck here, don't forget to download the free workbook about how to price your design services at the link in the description below. It walks through all of this in more detail. Now, at this point, let's do a gut check. How does that price make you feel? And is it aligned with what your target audience can afford? Remember, we talked about this earlier and I said to keep it in mind. Can the mom and pop shop afford that price? Or is that price like pocket change to the multi-million-dollar company? If you're thinking, oh my gosh, that's really low, you can charge more. You can make more profit. That's fine and that's great. Or if you're like, oh my gosh, that's really high, way higher than I've ever charged before, no way can I charge that much, my clients can't afford that. I want you to sit with that for a bit and reflect on if that's really true, because it might not be. This might be exactly the data that you need to validate raising your prices. On the flip side, I also can't tell you to charge an astronomically high price if it doesn't make sense for your target audience and other factors that we're going to touch on in a moment. If you truly feel like no way, no how can you charge that much and your target audience can't afford it, how are you going to reduce the scope of work and reduce the time it takes you so that you can reduce the price and take on more projects per month in order to meet your profit goal? Or if you don't want to do that, how are you going to shift your target audience to one that can afford that price tag? We've got one more pricing factor to talk about, but first I want to give you some food for thought. The highest price is not always necessarily the most profitable price. Let's say that one designer charges $10,000 for a website that takes 10 weeks to do. With the amount of work that they're putting into it, they can take on one website at a time. Meanwhile, let's say that another designer charges $3,000 for a website that takes them 5 weeks to do, and it has a simpler scope of work, so they can take on 3 of those website projects at a time. If we do the math, that second designer has the potential to make $18,000 in the same amount of time it takes the first designer to make $10,000. Even though the price that they charge for the website is lower. So again, the highest price tag is not always the most profitable. You have to find the balance between price, scope of work, how long it takes, how much you can reasonably do at once, and of course, how much your target client can realistically afford. The last thing I want to touch on before we wrap up here is other factors that affect your pricing. So you may have heard the advice to charge your worth. I personally think this is garbage advice. How in the world can you put a price tag on your worth as a designer and a human? And the perceived worth of something is totally different from one person to another. So that is not helpful advice. As we just covered, pricing isn't just a number that you pull out of thin air because it feels worth it. There is math and research involved. Other factors that are involved include your skill set, your experience, your background, and overall knowledge. Someone who has 10 or more years of experience working as a web designer is going to charge a different price than someone who is just starting out in web design. Someone who is extremely fluent in web design software and best practices and industry standards, who knows their way around the web builder like the back of their hand, who has a high level understanding of SEO and accessibility and branding, that person is going to charge a different price than someone who is just at the beginning of their learning journey when it comes to all of that stuff. Someone who has experience working with clients and has smoothed out the client process and knows how to navigate client questions is going to have a different price than someone who is very new to all of that. And that is okay. All of these situations are valid places to start and to offer services. But this is why I hate the advice that every web designer should be charging at least 10K, because everything we've talked about so far shows why that does not make sense for every single designer. And that's okay. As with everything in business, your pricing can change. You can always adjust it. You will always be learning and growing. Your price is not set in stone. But by following this formula, you can rest assured that you're charging a price that makes sense for your clients, for what you're offering, and for the experience that you bring to the table. Don't forget to head to the link in the video description below and download my free guide, How to Price Your Design Services. This is the most comprehensive pricing guide you'll find for designers. It includes these prompts we walk through and more so that you can feel confident that what you're charging is profitable and fulfilling to you. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you can get notified of future videos about how to build and grow a sustainable freelance design business and work smoothly with your clients. See you next time.